Okay, I'd like to welcome the Blue Ridge Ninth Graders. What you guys are going to see are the senior presentations. Seniors have been working on internship and community service and research projects throughout the entire year, and you're going to hear a little bit about some very different projects. So we're going to start off our next round with Shannon Blow.
Hi, I'm Shannon Blow, and my senior internship was on therapeutic photography. I originally wanted to just study photography as a whole. I've always been really fond of learning how to capture a memory of time within a frame. But as I began researching, I found that there's not a lot that you can do with just photography as a whole, trying to capture a story. There's not a lot of research that's been done on it. So with a bit of help from Mr. Caraway, I found something that really struck me, photography used in therapy. So to begin, I had my research question of how does a picture not only convey an image or a story, but how does it contain a story? And how is that story used as a healing tactic to those going through therapy? So first, I had to discover a story itself, how a story is presented within an image. So I have my model Cassidy here, and taking pictures, I found that there are 6 elements that are used within a photograph. Composition, depth, focus, theme, imagination, and mood. The first is depth. Depth is the degree of intensity or the depth of field within an image. So looking at the picture, you have Cassidy. You have a shadow in between Cassidy and her background in the background of a wall. Depth creates a 3-dimensional image because although a photograph is simply a kind of like a 2D thing, you know, just really slim, the picture itself can look like it's popping out. So depth is the degree of that. You can see the shadow gives it a 3-dimensional feature. Composition is everything put together as a whole to create the full image, but with one thing more so standing out. For example, Cassidy is the one that's in focus in the picture. She's standing out more. You can use the rule of thirds for this, where you have a tic-tac-toe frame, and the object that you want to have stand out can be in between the second and third frame, kind of in the middle, really focusing on the face and the eyes. Of course, Cassidy's eyes were closed, so I couldn't focus in on them, but she did a really great job for me. The third method is focus. Focus is bringing that object that you want to put out and bringing it into the full light. If you notice, the back of the wall is a bit blurred with Cassidy really focused in. And that's just to make the object stand out more. The fourth is mood. Mood is the basic overall tone. It's really complicated to explain everything in mood because it depends on color, lighting, the situation, but it really brings out the emotion within a picture. You can see that the picture is black and white, which usually represents a more negative tone, but since Cassidy is laughing here, it creates a sense of hope and happiness. The 5th element within a photograph is the theme. The theme is simply the story behind it. For instance, we can ask ourselves, why is Cassidy laughing in this picture? What was so funny? Not only does a theme create the story from the picture taker, but the viewer, him or herself, can actually look at the image and create their own story. As in, you can ask yourselves, why do you think the girl is laughing? And finally, every image needs a little bit of imagination to create its story. It can be abstract, it can be pretty blunt, but through imagination, we can all give ourselves a reason to create our own story. So after discovering how an image works and how to actually properly take an image with a story, I came across therapy and its connection with photography. There are 5 ways that I found that therapy is used with photography. The first is family albums. I really like this method because it allows you to look at the great things that happen in family. You can look back at old memories and see the happiness that you had as a child or at different events. But at the same time, it's kind of negative because a lot of times problems happen at home. And so if you're looking back at those images, you can kind of remember those negative effects that your family had on you. So sometimes it's not always the best case. The next is looking at pictures of others. Pictures of others is really good because you can see how they feel. You can create your story for them. For example, if we go back to the picture of Cassidy laughing behind the wall, we can think, well, why is she happy? And it can bring back those happy thoughts. The third way of therapeutic photography is pictures of yourself. As a patient, you can either take a selfie or a picture of yourself, or you can have others take pictures of you. This is a really good way to see yourself in a new light. it's not just looking at yourself in the mirror, but it's actually seeing yourself there with different emotions, different facial expressions at the same time, really putting those pieces together. The fourth way is photoprojectives. Photoprojectives is not necessarily a picture of anyone. It can be just of something random. This is when a therapist could talk to a patient and say, well, how does this picture make you feel? It can be more abstract, and through that, you can record your feelings and really open up how you feel about certain things through just random pictures. The fifth and final way is self-taken photos, which is a more hands-on approach. It's where a patient going through therapy is actually given a camera, and he or she takes pictures of things around them, the world, their surroundings, which happens to be my favorite way. Self-taken photography, again, is hands-on, and it allows them to really connect with themselves as they find themselves in the photography by telling their own story through the pictures that they take. This is a picture of my cousin Amber at our grandfather's funeral this summer, and it was a really good way to connect ourselves with the hope that comes through loss. So within self-taken photography, you have emotion and you have visualization, which aren't exactly the same thing. Emotion is what the picture is about, the story behind it. But visualization is simply what the picture is of. For example, you have the French teacher, Miss Klein, looking at her cup that says bonjour and has a little cow on it. So the visualization is simply the woman looking at her cup. But the emotion is the story behind that picture. Why is she looking at her cup? Why is she smiling? What is the story behind that? So my final bit of research, I stumbled across art therapy. Art therapy is different from phototherapy because it's taking sketches or drawings that people do in their sketchbooks, and it helps them connect with themselves through the lines that they incorporate onto that paper. However, I feel that phototherapy is a really strong way to get people connected with themselves, even better than art therapy. So by incorporating the art techniques that they learn in art therapy and using that in phototherapy, using depth, composition, mood, tone, lighting, color, etc., they can actually incorporate the art therapy into that phototherapy and help them connect better. For example, it's kind of hard to see, but this is a picture of my cousin Marin at our grandfather's funeral. Everything is black and white except the rosebud, which is bright red. Just a little artsy, but it again adds to that message that there is hope. For my internship, I worked with my mentor, John Barry, a professional sports photographer here in Madison County. We sat around a lot talking about taking pictures, how to take pictures, using the different camera techniques, shutter speed, ISO, aperture, etc. And we really talked about creating a story through our images. He hadn't really thought about some of the things that I talked about before, such as telling your story for your benefit. And so as we worked together, going to old homes, old broken homes that were really scary and sketchy, football games, etc., we worked together to really create our stories. So these are just a few pictures of the stories that I took. That's my brother Sebastian, and that's the Mountaineer Man at a football game. So again, my mentor, John Barry, he was a wonderful help in incorporating telling a story into the picture. We sat around talking a lot in the little park here in Madison about trying to get our focus in with photography. Not only does it just tell our story, but it tells the story of the people within the photograph as well. For my community service next week, I'm planning on project photography, which I'd like to call it. Nowadays, digital photography can be used at the touch of our mobile devices. And so what I'm hoping to do is to incorporate phototherapy into the art students here at Madison County. What we're going to do is we're going to take their mobile devices and they're going to have to take pictures of more abstract things, such as one word, commotion, jealousy, happiness, anger. And I'm going to collect those pictures and put them into a book, along with their responses as why they chose that. If it all goes well, I'm hoping to incorporate art therapy and phototherapy into our counseling techniques, because I really feel like it's a good way for people to connect with themselves. The significance of phototherapy is great. Not only have I researched the benefits, but I felt them as well. This is a picture you've seen earlier, but it's of my grandfather's hands before he passed away. And through phototherapy, I really was able to find myself in his loss. Looking back, all of us in the family now have a picture of him in his last moments. And it's a really great way to just be able to connect and remember those happy moments in life with him. So, things that I've learned along the way. I've learned that, well, it's really good to have a plan B. Absolutely. This is my plan B. At first, I wanted to work with National Geographic and do all these really amazing things with Africa and etc. These wild, crazy dreams, but it didn't happen. I did not get successful emails back, and I got a few no's. So I had to stay local. But with John Barry, we really got to work together and connect, even locally. I've also learned that this is really what I want to do with my life. I originally wanted to work in pharmaceutical chemistry or engineering of some kind. But as I've done my internship, I've really learned that I love helping people. And being able to make myself happy and others happy is something that I want to do for the rest of my life. So next fall, I'm going out to Idaho to study family and marriage sciences with a degree in professional clinical emphasis. I'm becoming a counselor, addiction recovery, and hopefully I can use phototherapy as a guide to help me along that. If I had the chance to start over, I would definitely not procrastinate. It's something that I'm sure every Governor School student knows about, but starting over would be an absolute wonderful thing. I would change so much, but at the same time, I don't think I would change what I interned in because it really helped me find my passion. Any questions?
What program did you use to put the color in the flower and black and white in the
I used Pixlr. It's an online program. It's super easy to use, but I really enjoy doing that.
I don't have any questions, but I'm glad you stayed local.
Thank you.
That makes your project.
Do you plan on using photography in your studies along the way?
I would love to actually continue making photography a better hobby of mine. Absolutely. I really found that there are so many benefits to phototherapy, even going from a personal experience. I really feel like it's helpful, not only for me, but for others in my family as well. We all get to kind of share that bond. And yeah, absolutely.